Welcome back, everyone. This session is presented by Kaya, Bezanson, and Anju Miller. Kaya is on the board of Inclusion BC and co-chairs the South African Committee. She is learning to be a dog groomer. She loves dogs, and she just graduated from KPU with a Faculty of Arts certificate. Anju is a Faculty of Arts student of KPU who is pursuing becoming a creative writing major. She has been working with Toys R Us for 7 years while helping out Inclusion BC as a self-advocate for people with disability and LGBTQ rights. Over to you, ladies.
Hi, everybody. I'm Fiona Whittington Walsh, and I'm also presenting today with Kaya and Katie. So I'm going to bring up our PowerPoint. Okay, so this is so great. Thank you so much. We're very excited to be here at the Youth Employment Summit. And today we're going to be talking about our program at Kwantlen Polytechnic University called Including All Citizens. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to sort of give you some information about the project and the program. And I'm going to give you some examples from my teaching and what I'm doing as a faculty member and as a teacher at Kwantlen. And then Katie and Kaya are going to, Anju and Kaya are going to talk about their experiences in post-secondary education. So as we said from the beginning, and I'd like to also start off by giving a land acknowledgement. So we would like to honor and recognize the traditional and unceded territories of the Kwantlen, Katsi, Simiyamu, Musqueam, Twasan, Kaikat, Coquitlam nations on whose territories Kwantlen Polytechnic University stand. And of course, the Kwantlen Nation has allowed KPU to use their name. And in particular, Katie is coming to you today from the Kwantlen, the unceded territory of the Kwantlen Nation, and Kaya and myself are coming to you today from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. So as I said, we're really excited to be here. So the Including All Citizens project, so that's me, my big long name, Fiona Whittington Walsh. It's a teaching model that involves the full inclusion of students with developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities. And they're taking Faculty of Arts courses at our university for credit and on equal basis with other students. So Including All Citizens has been awarded some grant money from the Vancouver Foundation and the Irving K. Barber Endowment for the Educational Opportunities. And that has really helped support us in developing this program. So I'm Fiona Whittington Walsh, and I am faculty in the Department of Sociology at Kwantlen Polytechnic University. I'm also president of Inclusion BC, and I'm member of the board of directors for Inclusion Canada, and I'm also chair of the Accessibility Committee for Inclusion Canada, and I'm also on the board of directors for IRIS, which is the Institute on Research and Development for Inclusion and Society. So I'm a busy, busy person. So the Including All Citizens project is working across 2 different faculties at KPU, the Faculty of Arts, which is where I am, and also the Faculty of Academic and Career Advancement. And our community partners are Inclusion BC and Inclusion Langley. So we began. I think my PowerPoint is going to keep doing things to me, but that's okay. So in 2015, we started a film club, and Anju and Kaya and 3 other friends of ours joined this film club, and we got together every week and watched films, and we've actually published a couple of articles on our film analyses. And during that film club, they started really complaining to me about the lack of opportunities that they had. And particularly, they really wanted to do post-secondary education, and they felt that there wasn't very many options for them. So from that experience, and I was working with a faculty member, a colleague of mine, on trying to develop inclusive post-secondary program. And so from that experience of being with the film club, we created the Including All Citizens project. So in spring 2016 is the first class that we had, and it was my Introduction to Sociology course, and we were on the Langley campus, and there were 35 students in the class, and here's a picture of that class. So there's only 21 students in the photograph, but so I approached my dean and I said, you know, my film club is really complaining about not having very many opportunities. Can we get them into my Introduction to Sociology course? And we're very fortunate that our dean is very supportive of the work that we're doing. And she said, do you want the students to take courses for credit? And I was very scared and I said, yes. And she said, let's do it. Let's go for it. So that was our first class in 2016. And from then on, every fall and spring, Anju and Kaya and their peers have been taking one course per term. So at the end of their journey, and now that is for Anju and Kaya, they are graduating with their Faculty of Arts certificate. And the first Faculty of Arts certificate exists before the Including All Citizens project. So this is a certificate program that is available to anyone that comes to Kwantlen, and you take 10 academic courses. So that's 30 academic credits, and these credits are of course transferred to any other university or college in the province. So that's very exciting that it's that there's actually a real certificate at the end of this journey. Okay, so these are the courses that Anju and Kaya have taken so far. So as I said, they started in spring 2016 with my intro, then fall, and a lot of these are sociology courses, so a lot of academics, right? In the fall of 2016, they took health and disability. Then in spring, mass media and society. Then they took a Canadian society again with me. They were stuck with me for quite a while. And then our final course together was a research methods course. And so over all of those 5 courses, what I was doing was really paying attention to what I do as an instructor. What do I do as a teacher to be able to teach to a wide range of learners? And then in the fall, they started taking courses with other instructors. They took creative writing, and then they took another course from arts that was all about inclusion. And then they took their first English 1100, and then they took another course with me, a popular culture. And then in the fall, they finished their Faculty of Arts certificate with their English 1202. And I must say, the English courses were really scary for us, especially English 1100. A lot of students fail English 1100. It's a very, very difficult course. And so over those many terms of me teaching the students and having other instructors, I was looking for an English teacher that I thought would really be an amazing teacher. And very lucky for us, we did find another teacher that was really interested in transforming her teaching. So there we go. Anju and Kaya are officially graduates of KPU, and actually on Monday at KPU in the Senate, their graduation will be approved by the Senate. And hopefully we can have a celebration of them walking across a stage soon as the pandemic is over. We want to see them in their hats and their gowns walking across that stage. And we're hoping to open it up to more students. So we're hoping, again, if we're back to online in-class teaching, we're hoping to have another cohort of students starting in spring 2022. Okay, so now how do we do this teaching foundation? How do I transform my teaching? Well, the foundation of what I do is coming out of the United Nations Convention for Persons with Disabilities. So in 2006, the United Nations created the first international human rights treaty of the 21st century. The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is really the teaching foundation for the Including All Citizens. The convention is designed to protect the rights and dignities of people with disabilities, including people with developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities. So key to the convention is Article 24, which is about education. And this is where it's recognized that people with disabilities are entitled to an inclusive education system at all levels. And that's including post-secondary, so including university and college, and that's without discrimination and on equal basis with others. So as the, okay, this my slides are taking off on me. So as the convention suggests, university and college education is a pathway for increased engagement within one's community and provides for greater independence and facilitates that engagement in lifelong learning and greater status for people. So now the teaching or the pedagogical foundation is universal design for learning. Now, universal design for learning began with an architectural movement that explored eliminating physical barriers for people with disabilities. So these barriers restrict access and inclusion. So rather than focusing on adapting and modifying structures to become more accessible, universal design argues that they should be designed from the very beginning with accessibility in mind. So this award-winning, this is a building in Toronto, Ontario, and it is an example of universally designed space. It was designed this way, and as you can see, it has a flowing combination of stairs and ramps and elevators. It's not designed for one person, and it's not designed for one disability, right? It's created in such a way that everyone benefits from it without the needs for any kind of adaptations or specialized design. So getting rid of those barriers, of course, is fundamental to the United Nations. So now universal design for learning is now applied to education and teaching. It means that teachers are challenged to create accessible learning environments that are accessible to a wide range of learners without adapting or retrofitting. So it's about removing barriers, and of course that leads for student success. This is doing all this on its own. It's just like magic. So without adapting the curriculum, the Including All Citizens uses the principles of universal design to transform teaching. So this is a really student-centered learning environment where everyone is included and valued on equal basis. And so it makes it an excellent learning experience for all, including instructors, and is one of the first fully inclusive 4-credit university certificate programs anywhere. So key to the universal design is creating many ways for students to be engaged. And this is why students learn. So we also create many ways of delivering content. So that's what you students learn. And there's also many ways for students to express themselves and express what it is that they know. So that is how students learn. So the purpose of the Including All Citizens project is to see the full inclusions of students with intellectual developmental disabilities into Faculty of Arts courses for credit and on equal basis with others. Now, I mentioned other instructors, so that is key to the project as well. As instructors, we mentor our students, and I'm including all students, but also key to the project was I have been mentoring other faculty in how to transform their teaching so that they can teach to a wide range of learners using universal design for learning. And of course, this benefits all students. So part of the project, we had to identify the many barriers that are in place, stopping people from accessing post-secondary courses and education. So for me, I had to really step back and think, what is it I'm doing in my classes, and what do I need to be doing that's better, that eliminates barriers for people. And so the first thing that I identified was, of course, I had to transform the way that I taught and the way that I approached my courses. And the first barrier that I really identified was my syllabus. And the syllabus is that piece of paper, or it could be online, but it sort of gives the student an outline of what you're going to be doing in that course. And here's an example of what my syllabus looked like before the Including All Citizens project. It's not bad, I must say, as far as the syllabus goes. There's a lot of information under the course description. There's a lot of words there, and it sort of explains almost everything you're going to do in the course. But key here is look at all those assignments. There's a lot of writing assignments. There's 4 writing assignments. There's a lot of group work. I have continued with group work. And of course, there's a couple of quizzes or tests in there. So the way that I transformed my syllabus and the way that I transformed my course, so this is what the syllabus became. So you can see there's a lot more space on the page. There's not as much information. There's a lot of information found on the website. It doesn't need to be on the syllabus. So you can see that I also, instead of having all these things that you're going to learn, I sort of broke the course down into 4 areas. So in this particular course, this is the Introduction to Sociology. We talk about socialization, social class inequality, gender, and race. And each one of those topics has 3 weeks. And the next thing that I did was, of course, you can notice the assignments that you would have to do. There aren't as many. Well, there actually probably are as many, but there's not as many essays and writing assignments. And I actually got rid of tests completely. So let's explore this a little bit more. So I also offer many ways for students to contact me. And this is very, very important for all students, right? So of course there's email. You can always email your instructor, which is great, but I provide more ways for you to contact me. There's, of course, office hours, so you can come to your teacher's office, but of course, now during the pandemic, we're teaching online. So of course we use online things such as Zoom. You can have a Zoom meeting with me, for example. And I also use this Remind app. And this is an app that I think is used quite often in high schools. And it's an app that you would download onto your cell phone. And what I do is I would invite you to become part of our class. And it means that you can text me on my cell phone and I can text you, but we don't know each other's phone numbers. And it's become really useful for a lot of students. They'll text me. I mean, they can't text me and ask me to be able to explain everything we just talked about in the week before's lecture, but I can answer quick questions. And even particularly now with the pandemic, we need to have some kind of communication with each other. And I find a lot of students really like the Remind app. Okay, so now also what I've done with my classes is all the readings, and there's usually a lot of readings in university academic courses. I provide audio recordings of those readings. And so if there isn't an audio book available, I record it myself and I upload that so that students can read the actual text, the book, or the article themselves, and they can also listen to it, or they can just listen to it. And again, this benefits all learners. Key to university at Kwantlen Polytechnic University is that many of our courses and all of mine, there are no costs for your textbooks. We call this the Zero Textbook Initiative, and this is part of BC Campus and Open Ed. So what I do is I have all of the things that you would need to read or listen to on our course website so that you don't have to actually buy a book, because these textbooks can be really expensive. Many of them are over $100 each. And if you're taking more than one class, that ends up being quite an expense. Also, part of the way that I teach in the assignments, I use social media. In quite a few of my classes, we used Facebook, for example, where students would look for a social meme or something that's trending on Facebook, and they would use that and post that on our private Facebook page to demonstrate their understanding of something that we were talking about in the class. And of course, I do a lot of group work, and that's that collaborative learning, and that gives students an opportunity to work with one another and really support one another's learning. Not all students like group work. In fact, I'm sure most students would say they really don't like group work, but for most of us, when we end up getting a job and in our adult lives or whatever, we're going to be working with other people. So group work is really important to be engaged in. Okay, so now, key to my courses. As I said, I don't do those essays anymore. If students want to write essays, they can write essays, but it's open to whatever way you want to show me what you understand about socialization as one topic. And that's how it is that we interact with one another. So you can use any way to express yourself. I have had students that have done essays or even PowerPoint presentations. I've had students come to my office and just talk to me and tell me their knowledge. I've had students write poems, do plays, make oil paintings. So any way that you can demonstrate the knowledge that you have is knowledge to me. And I certainly will accept any way of expressing. And so students really, some students find this challenging. That's why they'll do the essay, because they're more comfortable writing an essay, and that's fine. But again, it gives you that freedom to be able to express yourself in any way that you're the most comfortable with. So this is all about adding to your learning. So we have 3 weeks on one topic, and we start with a social media post, and then there's some group work, and then your individual assignment. So it's all building on the knowledge that you're learning. So we call that scaffold learning, right? It's giving you little assignments that sort of build towards a bigger assignment. So now I'm going to show you this is very important. How is it that I decide whether a student understands the material and whether you pass, right? The grade is the most important thing, right? For students, what do I have to do, and what is my grade? So this is how I evaluate students' work. So if you don't hand in anything, then you haven't attempted it. And obviously you're not going to pass it, right? You're going to get a 0 because you didn't hand in anything. But part of this project has really taught me as an instructor that in university, we don't recognize beginning knowledge, or that very, very early stages of someone, that beginning to understand. And I do recognize that. It's not going to be an A+ if you're just beginning to understand something, but it's certainly not a fail. And I think this is what's really important part of this project, is that it's really challenging university instructors to think about how it is that we grade students, and why is it that we don't recognize the beginning knowledge or that emerging knowledge. Why is it that it's generally still not considered good enough? But part of the Including All Citizens, it is recognized as good enough, right? Okay, so now what have students thought of being in this project? And I'm going to wrap it up in a minute, and we're going to hear from Kaya and Anju. But so at the end of each term, we do sort of anonymous. So that means I don't know who the students are, and they fill out an evaluation form. And it's really important for me to find out from students what they're liking about the course and what they're not liking. And so during the first 5 courses of the project, we asked this question: how is this inclusive class similar or different than other university classes you have taken? And this student said, just a minute, I'm going to minimize the view of you guys so I can read it. This class is extremely different from my other courses. It is different than that the assignments and presentations are more free to be creative. I feel more classes should be that way. And then how is this inclusive class similar or different than other university classes you have taken? And this student said, oh, this is the same thing, my apologies. What do you like the most about this fully inclusive environment? And this student said, it was my first chance to intellectually collaborate with people with learning disabilities. It was great. What impact did the inclusive environment have on you? I took into consideration others' strengths and weaknesses more when working with others. So you can see the power of inclusion working at the university level here. And this student said, I feel welcome and like everyone else. I don't feel different or that I need extra help on assignments. I can't read it because I've got a banner in front of me, but I can get extra help from the other students. So that's about students supporting one another in the classroom, which is really powerful at the university level. And now, this is what this one student said about being able to be creative in their assignments. So this student said, in this course, I believe that I did well on my individual assignments. I found them to be the most enjoyable assignments, and I always put my best effort into each one. I can say with certainty that your course made me a better student and gave me the comprehensive introduction to sociology. So even though students are presenting their knowledge in these creative ways, it's still really important knowledge. And this student said, I like the way that you teach. It is a way that we can openly express ourselves to you and our fellow classmates instead of just writing exams or tests. I feel like I learned more this way. I was more interested in the material. It was not just memorizing for the exam and forgetting it. The way you taught it, I will always remember the topics. The group assignments helped connect with other students in the class, and working together taught communication skills. I really enjoyed being a part of your class, and I appreciate your feedback on assignments. This is the first class where I can use the knowledge learned in my conversations outside of school. And that's the goal of university, really. Okay, now I seem to be, here we go, sorry. Now this is a really important one. This is the first class that the students took without me. And so students in the class answered this question, what do you like the most about this fully inclusive learning experience? And the student said, I like that it allows everyone to participate on a level that is fair and allows no one to be left out. And this is the most important one. What impact, if any, has the inclusive class environment had on you? And this student said, the inclusive class environment has no impact on me. I actually just learned now that it was an inclusive environment. And that's inclusion. Nobody was seen as anyone different. Nobody had a label. Students were just students. And so that's the power of inclusion. And now I am going to turn it over to Kaya. And I think I will stop screen sharing so at least you can see Kaya actually talking. So Kaya, where are you?
I'm somewhere here.
Okay, so everyone, this is Kaya.
Now you can put that picture back up. That's a better one of me.
So what would you like to tell everybody about your experiences with including all citizens and taking university courses for credit?
My experience was good and bad. Mostly good though. One, because I could learn like everybody else. And also it was for credit. So like I legit am graduating. It's not fake, how my mother would put it. But there were some things that popped up that I did not expect would happen. For instance, when we did the inclusion course, the teacher thought it was okay to use the word retard and let her students use it as well, which for me surprised me because it's an inclusion course. But But yeah, other than that, it was pretty good.
I just wanted to comment on what you just said about the R word and that course. Again, this this was a pilot project that Anju and Kaya were involved in, and it was really important to identify these barriers, right? These things that exist that we need to get rid of, and the fact that this instructor didn't correct students when they would use this language is a really serious barrier, right? And so we're definitely working on ways to try to make sure that that does not happen again. Do you have anything else you'd like to mention there, Kaya, at this point?
No, not really.
Okay, well, we'll go over to Anju, and then you can, maybe something else will come to you as you're listening to Anju.
It'll probably pop back up there. I agree with the Including All Citizens project was a big leap from high school for me. I was so used to bullying and used to teachers being really against who I was, and it was really scary to go into university, and I wasn't given the opportunity to go into an all-inclusive class to start. I was given the Access Program for People with Disabilities, or APPD, and English Upgrading, which both courses were great. They were very segregated, however, which was really challenging to make friends with multiple people. It was just like, here is a group of people that you will see for 1 month, and then you're going to go off to a job placement, and then come back and mingle for another like couple days, and then go off to another job placement. Where when I went into the Including All Citizens project, which I actually met Fiona through the Access Program when we did a collab with her sociology class. We all were watching The Ringer, which was a interesting movie to watch. At first, no one wanted to talk about it. We didn't want to talk about people with disabilities and how people with disabilities were treated in the media. But then the second day that we watched the other half of the movie, we were like, you know what? We're just going to be open and it's fine. And we discussed it. And that's when Fiona was like, oh, wow, I need to create a film club. And we started a film club, and then we created the Including All Citizens. And it was great. And going into the 10 courses, I really liked the style the teachers all taught. For me personally, it was very easy to be okay with the teachers because I got to meet Fiona. I got to meet the creative writing teacher personally. And then when we went into English, we didn't have enough time to meet our English professor, and I was panicked.
Right, before the class started, yeah.
Before the class started, yeah. I didn't get to meet her, and I was scared that I would have an experience from high school all over again. So taking English, I was panicked for the first half of the year, and I decided to go and talk to my professor. And after that, like, the professor was really open and we got along great. And after that point, they understood, like, I am more comfortable doing public speaking than doing an essay, although English, you've got to do essays. But she understood, and I was able to communicate with her, like, hey, look, this is my introduction. Does it sound good? Because I'm better at speaking. And she was able to nudge me along and say, yeah, no, that's fantastic. Continue. Here are some little notes to fix some things up. But other than that, like, it was fantastic. She learned for me that I need positivity before, I don't want to call it criticism, but before, like, you should fix this. She would give me a very positive feedback before anything else. And so, yeah, Including All Citizens was a great experience. We met multiple people. We made a lot of friends that were outside Including All Citizens.
Outside of our group too, technically.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't stay with just the 5 of us. We actually ventured out and met other students and started hanging out with them as well.
And it was very fun. Fiona pushed us to get into groups that we would normally be uncomfortable with. I just told her, like, I knew one of the girls from her class. I'm from high school. I was really nervous of the student. And instead of Fiona being like, oh, well, okay, I won't put you in her group. The next day I was in her group and I was like, oh no, but it went great. Like, she wasn't who she used to be in high school. So the including all citizens group, they just, like, all the teachers they pushed you to be the very best you can be. And it was fantastic experience. And even though we don't talk about the inclusion course as much, I think the teacher was just a little bit uneducated with how to approach topics around people with disabilities.
Okay, thank you, Katie. And now, Katie, so we heard in your introduction that you want to continue taking courses at Kwantlen. You want to get your major in creative writing. So you want to get your degree in creative writing.
Yeah, I want to get my creative writing bachelor because I want to be a writer. I know that I have a long way to go for my writing because I'm way better speaking, but I am going to continue with going down the path of taking creative writing courses. Now that I have my faculty, there shouldn't be any more barriers with preventing me from actually taking these courses where I would have had the barriers put there when I joined.
And it's really important that, I have to emphasize this, that you guys were doing the same work as everybody else. You weren't getting any special supports or special anything. Like, you guys were doing the same work as all students were doing. And you both started also going to the Learning Center, which is a tutoring center that Kwantlen has that a lot of students go to get extra support with tutoring help on writing. And so you both were doing that and getting support. And so what was your general experiences? Like, how do you feel about just being students? Like, that's what you are. You're just Kwantlen Polytechnic students, right? There isn't any labels attached to you guys. And how does that make you feel? Anju and then Kaya?
I'll let Kaya go first and talk about it.
Fine. For me, it made me proud and motivated to keep doing other courses. For instance, I wanted to do art, and KPU has a really good art course. My older sister went through it, so I'm thinking of doing that again. But it just gets me motivated to do more things outside of what I thought I could do at leaving high school, and now that I can do, because those barriers are now removed.
Excellent. Thank you, Kaya. Anju?
For motivation, it's helped me a lot. I've actually, with taking all of these courses, there's been a lot of change in me as a person, being very positive and actually making me motivated in other things of my life. And I actually, it was very interesting during the courses to sit there and have Kaya and everybody sitting next to me and being able to see our assignments and see what each other has done for the assignments, be like, oh, I should have done that. Next time I'll do that. Or sometimes with the teachers, there would be, instead of just write an essay on this, they would be like, here's 3 options, pick one. And whatever resonates with you more, you can do that. And so it was very interesting where I was like, oh yeah, Kaya's going to write on this. Nah, she didn't. And I was like, oh, okay.
Or that one time where we thought we were going to do an essay and I handed Fiona a massive billboard of all this art stuff. And you're like, oh, you're doing it that way?
I thought you had to do it a certain way. And then there was just Kaya was like, nah, I'll just do it this way. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, because Kaya, your strength was definitely in art.
Yes.
And so you ended up presenting a lot of your work as drawings and artwork and posters and things, which was great because you really got to be able to express what it is, your knowledge and what you had learned. So I think now, why don't we open it up to other people? If you have any questions or comments for us, we're open to, because I can see we got 15 minutes left, I think. We can talk forever. but I'll let anyone, if anyone has any questions. I think that there are some questions on chat. Is the Access program teaching online? I don't know, sorry. I'm not from the Access program. You can definitely go to the KPU website and look up the Access program, and there'll be some contact information there for you. And they can, but I can definitely say this year we're online, and we don't know about the fall, even for my courses. It all depends, right? But that's why I'm hoping that in spring 2022, we'll be able to have students come into the Including All Citizens and start taking courses with me, hoping that we're face-to-face and we're back in the classroom. So what did you guys both learn from this program? Oh, when do you register for the next group? Okay, that's a good one too. I'll come back to that. So what did you guys learn from this program? Oh, should we make a test and I should ask them sociology questions? No.
Yeah, no.
No.
I personally learned the environments going into it. So being in a segregated classroom from high school into the first 2 years of university, and then going into a fully inclusive classroom, like, it's not that scary. I'm so used to segregation. And so it was very scary in the beginning to go into a fully inclusive classroom, because you're like, oh, what's everyone going to think of me? Am I going to do something wrong? And you start to really panic. Is the teacher going to out me? Like, there's a lot of things that went through my mind when I first went in. But it was honestly, like, the teachers, if they found out that you had disability, it's like, oh, cool, all right, you're still a student. Like, it doesn't change our perception of you. And it was really fun to be a part of a community instead of a minority. And have friends.
Excellent. Thank you, Anju. And I'm just going to quickly answer some of these questions here. When do you register for the next group starting in spring of 2022? That's from Ethan. Thank you. That's an excellent question. And we'll certainly be announcing that through KPU. And we certainly wanted to mention that we're extremely grateful to Inclusion BC and Inclusion Langley, because they paid for the pilot students' tuition for all 10 courses. And so definitely through Inclusion BC and through Inclusion Langley, we will be advertising when you can register for the new cohort. We're kind of on the Langley Surrey campuses at the moment. We haven't started the project in Richmond, but the goal is to have it across all KPU campuses. And you do not have to take the Access program at all for taking the Including. That's a good question. It just happened that that's how I met Anju and Kaya, and I was working with Teresa Swan, who's one of the amazing instructors in the Access program, and she and I were thinking of ways to make inclusive post-secondary, and so that's how I met these guys. And so
when your teaching actually started for the program, because I remember you and Katie first met and you were thinking of doing the film club, and you introduced it to my class, the APD class, I think the year after.
So the Access program was very important for the beginning of this project, with working with Teresa, and also how I met you guys. And so ultimately, I'd like to start influencing how high school is taught as well, right? So we will be reaching out to high schools as well about registering and having students register, but definitely through Inclusion BC and Inclusion Langley and the other organizations in the Lower Mainland will definitely put out information about when you'll be able to register. And so this is a good one. Was it hard?
It depends on where you're looking at where it was hard. I think the hardest part for us is coming from the Access program, which is all segregated to people with disabilities, and how to learn other people's disabilities, moving to a classroom where nobody 100% knows your disability and has to watch what they say, and you have to watch what you say, just to be included in certain things. So the beginning part was hard for us because we had to change our mindset that we're all the same, we're not different. But after that whole feeling shifts, then it starts getting easier and more fun to learn and to collaborate with all the other students.
Yeah, I think the first classes, that's why I kind of like the model where the students start with one instructor and do a couple of courses with the one instructor. I mean, it was me initially, but now we have two other instructors where students could definitely start with them and do courses with them first. But it was all about building your confidence up, right? And realizing that you can learn and you don't have to have things modified.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the whole emphasis on this project is the teaching, right?
And I think through the whole project too, you're the one that kept like trying to give me the confidence, like it's not modified, like you're doing fantastic and all this stuff. Because I'm like, Fiona, I'm not doing so well.
Yeah, well, and everybody wants A's, right? That's everybody right across the board. Everybody wants an A, and sometimes you get an A. So the hard work, it is hard work. Doing academic courses in university is hard. But if you want to try it and do it, you should be able to try and do it. If you don't do the work, you have to do the work, right? But there are tutoring facilities available that all students have access to. So if I believe that anybody that wants to go to university and do courses should have the right to go to university doing courses. Whether you do well is down to you and the teaching, right?
And to bounce off that for the hard part, for the academic, we went from sociology into creative writing, and normally in the academic world, you must take English before you take creative writing. But we did it opposite. Fiona pulled some strings.
Yeah.
We went into creative writing, and I was told I would never be able to take creative writing because of the fact that I was at a grade 8 level. And I went to creative writing and I walked out with an A. And that just shows that you don't have to have a course to be able to take something you're passionate for.
Can I interrupt for 1 sec, Anju, because Ethan just asked a question that's very connected to that. Does it start with easier courses and go to more difficult ones? And sociology courses are hard because it's very academic. It's a social science, but again, it's the way of the teaching. And we waited for the English. I think probably you guys would agree that English 1100 was probably the hardest course that you had to do. It was called academic writing. So there was no poster or drawing that you could do. You had to do academic writing. I would argue against that a little bit, but that's for the English department, and they are thinking of other ways. But so we did wait, and that was the eighth course that you guys took. And so they've taken all these other courses, and your confidence levels were high by that point, right? Because you'd been taking these courses, you're just a student at university, you're starting to understand how it is you learn. And that's the struggle for all students, right? Students don't understand how it is that they learn, what is it they need from an instructor. And part of this is being an inclusive educator is if you need me to do something, just come and tell me. Like you could say, for example, a lot of students need a note taker, someone to take notes for them in class. And they get this accommodation form from Services for Students with Disabilities. And every term I'll get these, and I don't want to see those anymore. So what I do at the beginning of my classes now, I just asked, would someone like to share their notes with the class? Be our note taker. And generally there's someone that, yeah, I take really good notes. And then we share those notes with everybody, right? So that if there's something that one person needs from the instructor, there's other people in the class that would benefit them as well, right? So it's all about making sure that everybody has the access to the same kind of supports and everything. Okay. Oh, thank you, Kwaku. Yes. So Ready, Willing, and Able. So that's an Inclusion BC program, offers post-secondary educational supports, such as tutoring, on-campus supports. Oh, okay. So that's interesting too, right? So you can access that through Inclusion BC. So we don't do video games or animation at KPU. I'm not sure if they do that in the visual arts. Eventually, I want to be able to mentor more faculty, right? Not just English
I
and
know
creative
KPU
writing.
has animation and practical arts
No, I don't think so.
courses.
But we
Yeah,
want.
'cause my sister took them. They have a special location on the Surrey campus.
Oh, do they? So
Yeah.
eventually we want a lot more instructors to be able to transform their teaching and open this up so that you don't just have to take sociology and creative writing. You always have to take English, but you can come in and take history if you want, or geography, or visual arts, or business, right? This type of teaching can certainly be used in any type of program. Where are you guys working, and other programs will take in the courses? Oh yeah, a lot of you were working jobs and taking the courses. We were only doing one course per term because this was the pilot. So once you're there, and if you find that you want to take more courses, it's up. You can certainly take more courses. Sorry, Anju, go ahead.
So I was taking English, I think it was 1100 during I was taking English 1100 during the fall, and I went from working hours a week to 42 hours at working during the fall. And I was panicked because English being one of the hardest courses, trying to do that and work for 42 hours a week, balancing work with balancing doing assignments. And sometimes I knew that I would be able to finish the assignment, but I was like, hey, just in case, and I would like message my professor and be like, just in case, can I have 12 more hours to work on it? Just because I'm panicked, I'm under a lot of stress from work, I'm working constantly, and they were completely fine with it. Like, you don't have to say because of work. I just let her know because of me jumping so high that I had other things that were coming up, and they were completely fine with it. As long as you give them notice,
that's
most instructors will be good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of times that you would actually have to leave class. Like as soon as class ended, you were racing out to race to work.
Yeah, and then, a lot of students work and go to school, right? So it's certainly, a lot of students have to work in order to be able to go to school.
Both of us actually worked the same job too. So
Yeah,
we understood how each other schedules worked and how stressed school was for that.
And so as instructors, we understand that, most students are working, and if you need extra time, I always say that to students, just ask, right? It would be great if we had courses that were a year long. Probably a lot of faculty would go, no, I don't want to go back to that. But it's like, one term is really short. It's 12 weeks, right? And
I remember me and Katie were so panicked that sometimes in our break room, we would discuss things and our coworkers would be like, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, that's being a student,
We're
right?
like, no, just being school.
So there's a couple of people that are asking about the film club. Well, the pandemic has kind of
halted
that, but definitely the first conference that Inclusion BC has, where we're in person every time, we always have a film night that's presented by the film club. So definitely look out for that. And if you're interested, we can certainly get your contact information. And it would be fun to have more and more people joining the film club. And often, a couple of times we went to movies and movie theaters, and students from our classes, other students came with us and things. So definitely look out for the next Inclusion BC conference, when we're actually seeing each other for real, not on a screen. We will have a film club.
And if it comes down to it, I can find a way, because there's a handy app called Discord that I've been trying to get people on, and you can, if multiple people join it, I can screen share. We could all watch a movie, turn off the movie, and have a discussion verbally, or even write about it.
There's problems with copyright on that, so we have to be careful. Like, just because it's on the internet and we're not paying the film production company to borrow their film. So that's I was thinking of doing that too, but I think that there's copyright things.
If it's
Anyway.
on a CD, you can screen share your CD.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to find it online. You can actually just take a CD off of the rack.
But you're still okay. But we'll have this conversation later.
We'll have a discussion later. I actually wanted to bring up a really cool fact while taking the English course. One of our English professors, I was panicked because we had to read a book in like a week, a full book, and I was absolutely panicked. And it's like 200 and something pages, and we had to read it in a week. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I doing this? And I was reading it manually, which is, don't do it, my guys. Don't read it manually.
What do you mean by reading it manually? Like
reading it online, like as a book, reading it manually. And there was a girl in the classroom, and she was like, we were online doing Zoom, and she was like, hey, you should actually follow along with the book and do audio. It's much simpler. And she helped me be able to link up audio with me reading, which helped a ton. I was able to do it in 3 days instead of a week. At first, it was taking way too long. I was only on the first 2 chapters in 5 days. And then when I did the audio link, it took 3 days to complete the book. And I noticed there was a lot of mistakes from the book to the audio. And I was able to bring it forward. But the student was like, hey, like, I know you're trying to read the book, and that's great, but it's really hard to read the book and stay focused. I recommend, if you're reading the book, do audio just to hear it as well. And
that's why I always provide audio recordings, because and it's funny, people think that audio, listening to a book, isn't reading. And so it's interesting. I find that interesting. But yeah, again, having lots of different ways of engaging in the material.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming and listening in. And it's great for that program to be able to step out of your bubble. So that's the best thing about including All Citizens Project, is taking courses you normally wouldn't take and then learning that from them and having them flip your learning upside down and be a better person.